Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet. In this session, we'll be discussing from two verses, the 11th and the 12th verses of the 19th chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. The 11th verse, Anyecha Devarshi Brahmarshi Varya Rajarshi Varya Arunadayascha Nana Arsheya Pravaran Sametan Abhyarcha Raja Shirasa Bhavande. The meaning of this verse is, there were also many other saintly demigods, kings, and special royal orders called Arunadayas, a special rank of Rajarshis, from different dynasties of sages. When they all assembled together to meet the emperor Parikshit, he received them properly and bowed his head to the ground. So in the previous verses, we discussed about the different great sages who arrived at the spot where Parikshit had decided to sit down to fast until death, preparing himself to quit his body within 1 week. So he had selected a holy place on the bank of the river Ganga, and great sages from different parts of the universe arrived there. So all the names are not mentioned here. Sutta Goswami is telling there were other Brahmarshis, Devarishis, Rajarshis. Devarishi means saintly demigods, a rishi among the Devatas. Brahmarshi, rishi among the Brahmanas, saintly Brahmanas. Rishi means one who undertakes penance or austerities and follows very strictly all the rules, regulations for making further advancement beyond the existing position or the beyond the existing level of spiritual advancement already reached. So they make further progress when they undertake austerities, severe austerities, and tapasya is the way to actually make spiritual progress. Tapasya is integral to spiritual life. Of course, the tapasya recommended in different yoga systems is not the same. There are different kinds of austerities one may undertake, and even certain austerities are undertaken for some material benefit. Certain austerities are undertaken for liberation. Yet other kinds of austerities are recommended in the practice of bhakti yoga. Just like we practice austerities, in Krishna consciousness as taught by Srila Prabhupada, coming in the parampara of pure devotees in the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, we first of all take a vow to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra Japa at least 16 rounds every day. This is the tapasya. Every day we must chant. And the second tapasya, we take a vow to follow the 4 regulative principles, avoid the 4 pillars of sinful life, avoid meat eating, avoid intoxication, avoid gambling, and avoid illicit sex. And in this way, we commit to practice Krishna consciousness. And in the association of devotees, we add other practices like rising early in the morning. That's also tapasya. Ordinarily, people will be sleeping early morning because it is very pleasant weather. But serious devotees, serious practitioners of bhakti yoga, they voluntarily accept this austerity of rising early in the morning. And in the Bhagavatam 10th canto it is said, when Krishna was in Dwaraka playing the role of a householder, Kshatriya, so he used to rise early morning himself in order to teach us that it is absolutely essential to rise early in the morning. At what time? Before Brahma Muhurta, which is the best time to practice Krishna consciousness. 1.5 hours before sunrise is the Brahma Muhurta time beginning. So if sunrise is at 6 a.m., one should rise before 4:30. And by 4:30, one should be ready to begin spiritual practice, spiritual activities like chanting, Mangalarati, or reading Bhagavatam, hearing some discourse, spiritual activities at Brahma Muhurta. It's most auspicious. So that's also tapasya. Rise early in the morning, cleanse oneself, and attend Mangalarati. Auspicious beginning of the day. Mangala means auspicious beginning. So like this. Now here, these saintly persons belonging to upper planets, they undergo very, very severe austerities. We cannot imitate them. In our present condition, we cannot imitate them. But they are the ideal. For somebody who is serious about spiritual advancement, like Parikshit Maharaj, he was accustomed to living in a palace, but he gave up the palace. As it will be described, he handed over charge of ruling the kingdom to his son, and he came to this holy place. And he gave up the comfortable facilities in his palace. So, Devarishis, Brahmarishis, and Rajarshi, topmost saintly kings, Rajarshi Varya. Varya means the topmost. Then another special rank of Rajarshi is called Aruna Adayaha. They are described here. They are a special rank of Rajarshis from different dynasties of sages. That means all of them are very, very eager for achieving the ultimate goal of practicing spiritual life, which is to go back home, back to Godhead. And Parikshit is the ideal saintly king. Parikshit himself is a Rajarshi. So he is the ideal saintly king, ideal Rajarshi, to actually prepare himself for going back to Godhead at the end of this present life. So when they all assembled together to meet Emperor Parikshit, he received them properly and bowed his head to the ground. So Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, the system of bowing the head to the ground to show respect to superiors is an excellent etiquette which obliges the honored guest deep into the heart. Even the first grade offender is excused simply by this process. If we commit any offense against another Vaishnava or another saintly person or some superiors, then we have to beg forgiveness by bowing down, touching our head to the ground and begging for forgiveness. So Maharaj Parikshit was, although honored by all the rishis and kings, he welcomed all the great personalities by following the humble etiquette in order to be excused from any offenses. So Srila Prabhupada says, generally at the last stage of one's life, this humble method is adopted by every sensible man in order to be excused before departure, before quitting the body, in case any offense is still remaining. So kindly excuse me, kindly pardon me. And in this way, Parikshit Maharaj implored everyone's goodwill for going back home, back to God. The 12th verse, Sukhopavishteshu athateshu bhuyaha kritapranamaha swachikirshitam yat Vijñāpayāmāsa vivikta cheta upastito agre abhigrihita panihi. The meaning of this verse is, after all the rishis and others had seated themselves comfortably, the king, humbly standing before them with folded hands, told them of his decision to fast until death. Now Parikshit Maharaj has decided that he is going to prepare himself to quit the body by going to the holy place and fasting until death. And he saw all these great personalities have arrived there to that holy place. And he humbly stood before them with folded hands. And he told them of the decision. This is after bowing down to them. He also told them of his decision to fast until death. So Srila Prabhupada explains, although the king had already decided to fast until death on the bank of the Ganges, he humbly expressed his decision to elicit the opinions of the great authorities present there. Parikshit Maharaj is actually already knowledgeable in this particular practice. But still, when there are great saintly persons, he is taking their opinion that, am I correct in what I am doing? Any decision, however important, should be confirmed by some authority. This is the basic principle of our Vedic culture, to accept superior authority, spiritual authority. Just like Shastra says, anybody, whoever he may be, has to accept a bona fide spiritual master and under the guidance of the bona fide spiritual master, practice spiritual life to attain ultimate success in self-realization. Tad vijnanartham sagurum eva abhigachet, must approach a bona fide spiritual master. So much so that Krishna accepted Sandipani Muni as a spiritual master. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted Ishwara Puri as a spiritual master. So that is the instruction in the Shastras, and we must follow that. So Prabhupada says that makes the matter perfect. This means that the monarchs who ruled the earth in those days were not irresponsible dictators. They scrupulously followed the authoritative decisions of the saints and sages in terms of Vedic injunction. They are always consulting saintly persons, and they will follow the Vedic injunctions as directed by the sages and saintly persons who were authorities. Maharaj, as a perfect king, followed the principles by consulting the authorities even up to the last days of his life. Even before this, he had done it. So he decided that he is going to continue to consult the saintly persons even during the last days of his life, even when he is preparing himself to quit his body, whether it is right on his part to decide to fast until death. And further, what he did is explained in the next few verses also. So this will be clearly establishing Parikshit's seriousness and his perfect decision, his proper behavior, his readiness in all respects to actually quit his body and go back home, back to God. I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.